Dead Rising is a masterpiece, but does that mean that it's perfect? Absolutely, in every possible way possible. There's not a single bad thing about Dead Rising. But for real, Dead Rising is really a good game, and a lot of people say it's the best game in the franchise. I'm not sure if it's my personal favorite in the franchise. I did a couple of polls though, and Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2 are hailed as the best games in the franchise, with Dead Rising of course getting most of the votes, and Dead Rising 4 getting dead last, which is honestly not surprising. And to be honest, anyone who said that 4 is the best is just wrong. Dead wrong. The gameplay in Dead Rising is probably my favorite thing about Dead Rising in general, but it's what got me hooked on Dead Rising. Before I really paid attention to the story or anything, so many years ago when I first played this game on Xbox 360, just the ability to pick up almost everything in the mall and explore the mall and use anything that you find in the mall to kill some zombies, I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, you can use pretty much anything. Benches, katanas, chainsaws, weights, skateboards, shopping carts, sledgehammers, soccer balls, basketballs, bowling balls, toys, knives, trash cans. I mean, you name it, you can probably use it to take out some zombies in Dead Rising. That's probably also the reason why I have played Dead Rising 2 off the record the most out of any Dead Rising game, since it has a sandbox mode, and just roaming around killing zombies with random weapons is just my favorite part of Dead Rising games. Just messing around in the sandbox, not really having to worry about, you know, the time, the story, or any of that. Just roaming around, doing what I want, killing some zombies, having some fun. That's just the most fun that I get from Dead Rising. Dead Rising also has psychopaths, which are people who are crazy. I mean, I guess not all of them are completely insane, but I mean, obviously they're a little crazy, and they're bosses that you can fight in Dead Rising. A lot of them, if not most of them, are optional, but they each have their own unique personality, moveset, and weapon. And psychopaths are also a hallmark of the Dead Rising franchise, and bring unique characters and fights to the games, and they just add something interesting to do. I mean, Dead Rising is just good in general, but psychopaths are probably another one of my favorite things about Dead Rising. I mean, the psychopaths, each one, they're just interesting and crazy, and some of them are kind of disgusting, but it adds personality and charm to the games.
This is my store! You came to vandalize my store, huh? Not on my watch!
Someone's been hurt. I need medicine.
Hurt? That's just what this bitch said when she came to vandalize my store! I don't take kindly to vandalism. I won't allow it! Listen to me, and listen good, partner. I don't allow vandalism in my store!
I mean, for some of them, you can even get to know their story a little bit and how they got to where they are and why they're kind of losing their minds, and you can kind of feel sorry for some of them. In Dead Rising, you can also level up to level 50 being the max level, and leveling up increases your inventory size, health, movement, speed, stuff like that, and you also get some like new moves, like being able to kick or like grab a zombie and, like, I don't know, slam their face down into the ground, like some wrestling moves or something. And to level up, you got to get that magnificent PP prestige points, which you get for saving people, killing zombies, defeating psychopaths, taking incredible pictures. Perfect.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like about Dead Rising though is the movement. Like, Frank's kind of slow. Takes forever to get back up, or when you roll, Frank just stops moving for a second, or just like, it just feels like Frank is just slow sometimes, like unnormally slow, like just slow on purpose. or something. Like, he could move faster, but Frank is just like, you know, he don't really care. He don't care that, you know, someone's shooting at him or something. He's gonna move at a snail's pace. And I just felt like at times I couldn't move, and it was just frustrating. Speaking of things that are frustrating, Otis and him always just calling me on the walkie. I'm fighting, he's calling me. I'm trying to survive he's already got my brain messed up. What I was trying to say is, when I'm saving survivors or fighting psychopaths or just roaming around fighting zombies trying to survive, you know, Otis is like, hey, I'm gonna tell you where you are and where some other people are, just in case you want to know right now at this very second. Like, I know you're getting attacked by a psychopath right now, but I just thought you would want to know that someone's hanging out in the clothing store and they look like they're crying. I think they're upset. Like, dang, Otis, can you just like leave me alone for like 15 minutes? My goodness, I'm kind of in the middle of a zombie apocalypse right now. Also, while I think saving survivors is overall a good optional mechanic and it gets you some extra XP and stuff, but saving the survivors can also be frustrating because, just like Frank West there, they just move slow and they seem to get stuck on literally anything. Even if there's nothing there, they just seem to just stop moving or something. Or they literally they're just like, hey, I see a group of zombies. I'm just gonna walk into them and see what happens. And then you know, they wonder why they're 5 minutes later getting torn apart. But you know, most of the time they're dumb. And I'm just trying to say, some of the survivors, they kind of deserve to be tackled by those zombies and ripped apart, and I don't feel bad about leaving them. But overall, the gameplay is great and lots of fun, and is the reason I put so many hours in Dead Rising back in the day. Oh my goodness, I'm starting to use phrases like back in my day. My goodness, I'm getting old. Dead Rising's story is a big part of the game, since you only have a certain amount of time to complete it, and it's kind of just the big chunk of the game that you're trying to complete. And you play as Frank West, who is a photojournalist, and goes to the Willamette Mall because he is looking for the big scoop and thinks that there's a riot happening. I don't know how you can think a riot's happening when people look kind of dead and they got blood coming from them and they're eating people. I don't know how you don't think of zombies, but for some reason Frank West thinks it's a riot going on, and he chooses to jump on the mall's roof to get the story, but then uncovers a very different story than what he expected to find. He discovers, well, the zombie apocalypse has started, and now he has to figure out all of the juicy details before his helicopter arrives in 3 days to take him out of there. Also, unlike Deathloop, yeah, I'm bringing Deathloop into this now. Deathloop says, oh, we have a non-linear story, and like Deathloop in its actually linear story with one decision that you make in the last 30 seconds of the game that decides if you get ending A or ending B, and none of those endings really mean anything. But in this game, in Dead Rising, unlike Deathloop, Dead Rising has more endings than Deathloop and has more things that you do throughout the game that can change how the game ends. Not to mention that if someone important dies, they actually just die, and you can either load back to your previous save before they died and try to redo that part of the story, or they literally die and you fail the story and you fail the case, and you can just continue to play the game and do things until the helicopter arrives. And then there's like, I think there's like one or two endings that you can get from if you actually fail the cases but you still make it to the helicopter. You can still get some endings. So like in Deathloop, they're like, oh, it's a non-linear story. You have one decision to make in that game, and it's at the very end of the game. In Dead Rising, you have at least a minimum of 5 decisions that you can make throughout the game. But I'm sure there's more than 5 decisions that you can make, and there's just, I mean, technically all the optional stuff that you can do, like save this person, save that person, is technically an option, and it changes the ending a little bit. I mean, you know, if the helicopter comes and you save the survivors, well, if you didn't save, almost like any survivors, like you only saved like one survivor or something, then it's going to change that. You know, you're going to save one survivor, and then if you save more survivors, then you're going to have more survivors that get on the helicopter. I mean, it's a small change, but you know, it's more than Deathloop. Dead Rising released in 2006. That's around 16 years ago, and I have to say, this game looks incredible for 2006, in my opinion, of course. I mean, I'm just going to stop talking now, and I'm going to let you kind of just visually look at the game, look at the graphics, and look at the video on the background and focus on it, and well, you know, just think about this, though. Just think about one thing. The graphics are about as old as me. I mean, I'm about as old as this game. Like, I'm a little older than the game, but this game is almost as old as me. That's kind of crazy. Dead Rising has good gameplay, fun gameplay, decent story, interesting characters, replayability, multiple different modes, even though they're quite similar, but multiple different modes, charm, personality. I mean, personally, I think this game and Resident Evil started the whole zombie craze, you know, back then, that lasted years and years, and back then it seemed like there was, I mean, after Dead Rising and Resident Evil came out, it just seemed like a ton of zombie games started releasing, and Dead Rising has some flaws, yes, but those flaws are outshined by the rest of the game. And Dead Rising will be almost 20 years old soon, and it will keep getting older, but it will never be forgotten as a fantastic zombie game. And it will rise above all the other zombie games. Okay, maybe not all of them, but it will be always in one of my top favorite zombie games. / Dead Rising in general will be in my top, just probably my favorite, if not top, zombie franchises ever. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment below, tell me what you guys think about Dead Rising and this video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because you want to be subscribed. I'm not telling you to subscribe, you just want to be subscribed. And I'll see you guys next time.